Well, good morning, friends and family, and welcome to our Thursday, September 12th, 2019, Walking with Jesus devotional. Today's a little bit of a hard subject. Luckily, it's only 2 verses, but I hope you'll join me as we're reading in the Sermon on the Mount. Today, it's Matthew 5:31 and 32, Jesus teaching about divorce. So here you go. You have heard the law says a man can divorce his wife by merely giving her a written notice of divorce. But I say that a man who divorces his wife, unless she has been unfaithful, causes her to commit adultery. And anyone who marries a divorced woman also commits adultery. So normally I wouldn't want to do this in our devotionals, but the reality is we need a little context. There was a very prominent practice, I'm not saying it was a good one, but a prominent practice in that day of if a man was married and he just kind of fell out of love with his wife, it wasn't the marriage that he wanted, he could issue her a divorce and go get married again. This was very common in Jesus' day. And the reality is, Jesus is speaking out against that. If you are looking for someone else other than your spouse, you've already committed adultery in your heart. And he taught that in some of his other teachings about lust. And yet, that practice really isn't all that different than what we experience today. We see people who get divorced for petty reasons. They're not willing to try and make their marriage work. We don't treat that covenant of marriage as something that is sacred, that we should invest in and do our best to uphold. And in fact, in today's culture, it's gone a step beyond that to where people won't even get married because they're too concerned that it's just going to end in divorce. So they don't commit themselves fully. I believe that God has created us as people who need connection, who need to be yoked together, and marriage was one of the primary ways that God created for us to do that. And we should value that covenant. We should keep that covenant sacred. And we should encourage people to look for that. Now, marriage isn't for everyone. I know that. There are people who are called to a life of singleness. There are people who have been given the gift of singleness. But as a whole, most human beings need to be in that kind of yoked relationship, and they need to make it important. Not just some for now kind of thing, but truly a lifelong commitment. And so for those of you who are not married, please, please, please don't jump into relationships, but look for people who are going to be a good match for you, someone who's going to make you a better version of yourself. If you are currently married, please, please, please do your best to make your spouse the one that you love. Love them, honor them, cherish them, put them above all others, and don't go looking elsewhere. But if you're in a bad marriage, it's not that God wants divorce, because I believe he doesn't. But sometimes the divorce is the lesser of the two evils. And then after the divorce, I would be cautious about jumping into another relationship. I wish that we prized relationships more than we do. I wish that we prized each other more than we do. Because each and every person we encounter is made in the image of God, and we should treat them as such. Have a blessed day.